Everyone tells you the same thing. Act like an alpha male. Be flawless. Be perfect. Be the guy who never stumbles. But here's the problem. She's already met those men. The gym alpha who flexes too hard. The loud one at the bar who tells stories to prove how important he is. The smooth talker who memorized lines from a dating coach. And do you know what happens? She sees through all of them. Because perfection is a mask, and women are experts at spotting masks. Machiavelli said, "He who deceives will always find someone willing to be deceived." But women are deceived every single day. That's why their instincts sharpen. Your edge is not in being flawless. It's in being genuine without being needy. Because authenticity backed by power is more terrifying, more magnetic, and more unforgettable than any fake alpha act. 1. The clueless conqueror trap. Most men walk into the arena of attraction as if it's a video game. They think if they just press the right buttons, memorize a few pickup lines, throw out the standard compliments, mimic confidence, they'll unlock the prize. They treat women not as people, but as puzzles to be solved, trophies to be earned, or checkboxes to tick off. Picture this: a woman sitting across the table on a date. The man in front of her is smiling too much, agreeing too quickly, overcompensating with words he doesn't even believe. Every sentence drips with desperation disguised as charm. "You're so beautiful. I've never met anyone like you. I feel such a connection already." He leans in too close, laughs a little too loudly, nods at every word as if his survival depends on her approval. Now here's the truth. She doesn't dislike him. In fact, on paper, he's nice. But she feels absolutely nothing. No spark, no tension, no pulse of attraction. Why? Because everything about him radiates a single silent message. Please choose me. Please see me as worthy. Attraction doesn't respond to begging energy, it recoils from it. Her subconscious, sharpened by experience, knows exactly what to do when faced with a man who behaves like a salesman pitching himself. She raises her guard. Not because she's cruel, but because she senses the hidden agenda. She knows she's being hunted, not seen. This is where Machiavelli's insight slices through the illusion. Men are driven by two principal impulses, either by love or by fear. The clueless conqueror chases love like prey. He throws himself at her feet, convinced that pouring affection will make her feel the same. But it only drains the interaction of all tension. She feels nothing because there is nothing to lose. Nothing is at stake. Now, flip the frame. Instead of begging, you control the pace. Instead of flooding her with hollow praise, you slow down. You introduce uncertainty. You smile less. You let silences breathe. You make her wonder, not because you're performing tricks, but because you refuse to sell yourself cheaply. Suddenly, her mind shifts. She leans in, searching for your approval instead of handing you hers on a silver platter. That's the dark psychology most men miss. Attraction doesn't ignite when you hand yourself over freely. It ignites when you control the frame, create tension, and force her to lean into the unknown. 2. Quiet power. The aura of command. A man enters a room. He doesn't announce himself, doesn't raise his voice, doesn't perform tricks to be noticed. Yet slowly, eyes shift toward him. People glance, then glance again. Conversations stumble for a second. There's no flash, no wealth on display, no exaggerated gestures. And still, he bends the atmosphere without speaking a single word. That is the rarest form of influence, quiet power. But what actually creates it? The answer hides in the smallest details. His eyes never scatter. He doesn't dart nervously around the room, desperate to scan every face for validation. But he also doesn't fixate like a predator starving for control. Instead, his gaze is deliberate, anchored, calm, as if he can see deeper than surface words, as if he's weighing not just what you say, but the essence behind it. That kind of gaze makes people adjust themselves in their chair without knowing why. His body does not betray him with fidgeting, twitching, or collapsed posture. Shoulders remain relaxed. Movements are economical, unhurried, almost sovereign. He takes up space, not aggressively, but unapologetically. His presence doesn't ask for permission. It simply occupies. And here's the crucial element: silence. Most men fear silence because they think it exposes them. They rush to fill it with chatter, jokes, explanations, anything to prove they belong. But the man of quiet power does the opposite. He holds silence. He lets the weight of the unsaid linger. When others scramble to fill the air, he waits. His pauses force the room to bend toward him. Imagine a dinner table. A woman asks two men the same question. The first man leaps in immediately. His answer pours out too fast, too long, too rehearsed. He trips over his words in the eagerness to impress. His mouth moves, but his energy screams, "Please believe I'm good enough." The second man does not rush. He listens, he breathes. He lets the question land, lets the silence stretch until it becomes almost uncomfortable. Then, calmly, he delivers a short, precise answer. He doesn't seek the spotlight, he becomes it. The silence that follows belongs to him, and the woman, without realizing, leans closer, searching for more. This is the essence of Machiavelli's quiet power. You don't chase attention, you absorb it. You make others feel that your words carry weight precisely because they are rationed. One man spoke a dozen sentences and faded. The other spoke one line and left a mark. Quiet power doesn't demand, it commands. Not with volume, not with force, but with the tension of restraint. The less you give, the more they want. 3. Calculated vulnerability, the hidden edge. This is the battlefield where most men crumble. They've been told vulnerability is attractive, that opening up builds connection. But they mistake confession for strength. And confession, when uncontrolled, is not intimacy. It is self-sabotage. Picture the first date. The man, eager to seem real, pours his soul onto the table within an hour. He speaks about his childhood pain, the father who didn't believe in him, the girlfriend who broke him, the nights he felt worthless. His words are not chosen. They spill out uncontrolled. He believes he's forging a bond. But to her, it feels different. It feels heavy, like he's putting his emotional weight on her shoulders before he's earned the right. Instead of attraction, she feels pity. Instead of safety, she feels burdened. This is not strength. This is emotional begging. It is the psychological equivalent of handing someone your broken pieces and whispering, "Please fix me." Machiavelli's wisdom slices through this illusion. Never reveal all your cards. Vulnerability is a weapon, but only when it is calculated. When uncontrolled, it drains. When deployed with precision, it fascinates. The distinction is simple, but deadly. Oversharing. I've always struggled with confidence. I never felt good enough. The subtext is, I still don't feel good enough, and I need you to validate me. She doesn't feel attraction. She feels pity. Pity kills desire. Calculated vulnerability. I used to second-guess myself, but I forced myself to trust my instincts. It changed the way I deal with people. The subtext is, I've battled myself and I won. She doesn't feel pity. She feels respect, growth, intrigue. One drains her, the other pulls her in. But here's where most men ruin it further. When she opens up, they panic. She shares her fears, her struggles, and instantly, they jump into problem solver mode. Here's what you should do. Let me fix this for you. Wrong move. She didn't reveal her vulnerability to be coached. She revealed it to feel seen. And when you rush to fix, you reveal your own discomfort with emotion. You show you cannot hold the weight of her truth. Real power is the ability to sit in that space without losing balance, to listen without rushing, to stay calm while she tests if her storm can shake you. That is what builds trust. That is what makes her whisper, almost to herself, "He gets me." Understand this. Calculated vulnerability is not weakness. It is controlled disclosure. You reveal just enough of your scars to prove you've bled, but not so much that you appear still bleeding. You show the lesson, not the wound. That distinction is the hidden edge, the difference between a man she respects and a man she pities. 4. Interest without neediness. This is where weak men betray themselves. They survive the first tests, spark a little attraction, and for a moment, they stand tall. But then, just when the woman begins to feel curious, they collapse. Their mask slips, and desperation leaks through their words. Listen closely to how it happens. He says, "I really like you. Please give me a chance. I hope you feel the same way." To his ears, it sounds honest. To hers, the subtext screams louder. "Validate me. Please don't reject me. Please make me feel worthy." And nothing kills attraction faster than the scent of need. Attraction thrives on tension, not surrender. When you beg, when you overexpose your desire, you give away the game. You are no longer the prize, she is. And women instinctively lose interest in what is already theirs. Machiavelli said, "It is better to be feared than loved, if you cannot be both." Translate that into the psychology of attraction. It is better to project calm, unshaken strength than to grovel for love. Neediness is the death of mystery. Mystery is the oxygen of desire. Here is the move. You express interest like a man with options, like someone who chooses rather than waits to be chosen. Your words are not drenched in hope. They are delivered with composure. "I enjoyed tonight. I'd like to see you again. There's something about you I want to explore." No begging, no pleading, just statements. Clean, director, controlled, and then, the most important part, you disappear back into your life. You do not blow up her phone. You do not stalk her Instagram stories like a man starved for scraps of attention. You let time work in your favor. Because patience, to a man of purpose, is not waiting, it is strategy. Picture the difference. Man 1 texts her 5 times the next day. "Hey, just checking in. Did you get home safe? I had a great time. I'd love to see you again. Are you free this weekend?" His eagerness drowns her curiosity. She knows she can have him at any moment. There is no chase, no tension, no electricity. Man 2 sends one message hours later. "Tonight was good. You surprised me." Then he vanishes back into his own world, into work, into projects, into a life already full. She feels the silence. She feels the absence. And absence, when crafted, is power. Understand this. A man who waits by his phone is already defeated. A man who fills his time with purpose forces her to wonder where he is, what he's doing, and who else he could be seeing. That uncertainty doesn't repel her, it pulls her closer. Interest without neediness is not withholding. It is demonstrating that you choose her, but you do not need her. And that single difference changes everything. 5. The magnetic shift. This is the law most men never learn. Attraction isn't forged in constant presence. It isn't built in how often you text her, how many emojis you send, or how consistently you show up in her notifications. Attraction lives and breathes in the space between encounters. It grows in her imagination, in the way her mind replays the memory of you when you are gone. Weak men don't understand this. They believe relevance comes from repetition, so they send message after message, selfies, memes, good morning texts on autopilot. At first, it felt sweet, but quickly, it becomes predictable. And once predictable, it becomes disposable. She doesn't crave what she already knows she can have on demand. Here's the truth. One deep moment is worth more than 100 shallow ones. Attraction doesn't grow in quantity, it grows in intensity. A single question that pierced deeper than small talk, making her pause and see herself differently. A moment of silence where she felt strangely safe, realizing she didn't need to perform in your presence. A laugh so sharp, so unforced, that days later she hears it in her head and smiles without knowing why. These are not accidents. They are imprints, emotional anchors. They live in her memory long after you leave the room. And when you are not there, they play on repeat, pulling her back to you without your effort. That is the magnetic shift. You stop chasing her thoughts and instead leave moments so heavy, so loaded with emotion, that her mind keeps circling back. It's not about being constantly available. It's about being unforgettable. Think about the contrast. A man who texts her all day becomes background noise. He's a constant hum, so familiar she forgets he's even there. But the man who disappears after one unforgettable exchange becomes a question mark in her mind. Why hasn't he messaged? Was that moment as real for him as it was for me? That question fuels curiosity, and curiosity is the seed of obsession. Machiavelli understood this dynamic in politics. Men are moved less by what they see daily than by what they imagine in absence. The same is true here. You don't win attraction by flooding her senses. You win by planting thoughts she can't escape. Understand this. The most magnetic men are not the loudest, not the most present, but the ones who leave echoes. 6. The final secret, presence that stays. Most men are shapeshifters. One week, they're the funny guy, cracking jokes to mask insecurity. Next, they reinvent themselves as the tough guy, puffing their chest to hide fragility. Another week, they pivot again, becoming the overly agreeable, nice guy who sacrifices authenticity for scraps of approval. Women sense this instability instantly. They may not always articulate it, but they feel it. Inconsistency registers as danger. If a man cannot stay true to himself across time and setting, how can he be trusted? And trust is the foundation of both desire and respect. Now contrast this with the rare man who does not shift. He is steady, grounded, unshaken. Whether in a crowded bar, a business meeting, or a private moment, his essence remains intact. He doesn't perform roles. He doesn't bend under pressure. He doesn't contort his identity to win favor. And because of that, he radiates the rarest form of authenticity, consistency. Understand this. Authenticity is not about emotional vomiting, about confessing every detail of your life in the name of being real. No, that is weakness dressed up as honesty. True authenticity is being the same person, no matter the room, the mood, or the company. It's the refusal to fracture your identity for applause. You don't fake confidence, you embody it. You don't bend to be liked. You force others to adjust to your gravity. And here lies the deeper Machiavellian edge. This consistency doesn't just draw women closer, it reshapes how men see you too. Other men, secretly unstable, feel the weight of your steadiness. They may resent it, but they respect it. A presence that doesn't bend has the power to bend others. It creates a hierarchy without words. It defines who leads and who follows. Think of it like stone versus paper. Paper folds. Paper changes shape depending on what touches it. But stone remains the same, no matter the pressure applied. And in a world of papermen, bending, folding, shifting, the man of stone commands by simply existing. This is the final secret. Presence that stays is presence that rules. When you refuse to wear masks, when you resist the temptation to shift for approval, you become immovable. And in both love and power, it is always the immovable man who forces the world to move around him. Most men will forget everything you just heard. They'll return to the same predictable patterns, chasing, performing, begging. They'll keep swapping masks, hoping someone notices, hoping someone validates their worth. And they will continue to fail, silently, every day. But not you, not anymore. Because now, you hold the keys. Quiet power that commands attention without effort. Calculated vulnerability that intrigues instead of begging. Presence that imprints itself into memory and bends perception. These are not tricks. They are not hollow strategies. They are weapons of influence, forged in the psychology of men who refuse to be ordinary. This is not pickup. This is not shallow dating advice recycled 1,000 times. This is Machiavellian psychology, the art of controlling perception, mastering your inner world, and owning yourself so fully that others orbit you without realizing it. Women will feel it, men will notice it, and the world will adjust around you. So here is the choice before you. Do you remain like every other man, scrambling for validation, desperate for approval, trapped in the endless cycle of performance? Or do you step into the brotherhood of those rare men who need no mask, no act, no external validation, because they have mastered themselves, and mastery itself is irresistible? The truth is simple. The game doesn't end here. It starts now. Every interaction, every glance, every word you choose becomes a test of your power. Step into it, or remain invisible forever. Because once you understand these laws, there is no going back. You either ascend to the rarefied world of men who hold influence without effort, or you fade into the background with the rest. The question is yours. Which man will you choose to be?